Hello, welcome to the EP7 podcast. You are here with Rachel Donovan and the founder of EP7, Mr. George Helou.
Thanks, Rachel, and thank you for joining us. We love talking about how to get the heart into everything we do to get a lot out of life.
Whether it be relationships, business, careers, you name it. So, let's get started.
George Helou, who's waving at me through the Skype camera.
Yes, because I'm just getting myself into a good mood. Not that I was in a bad mood before.
No.
But I know that when I'm upbeat with these podcasts, it kind of helps.
Yeah.
I start coming up with light-hearted ideas. Because, it's just better that way, isn't it?
Well, because I used to do a lot of suit character work, when you dress up with a big animal character.
Yeah.
Fluffy character. And even though no one can see your face, obviously, you still find yourself posing for photos, or when you were doing a routine on stage, you couldn't help but your face is smiling, because if you're supposed to be energetic and, friendly and warm, you naturally just start smiling in the suit even though no one can see you. But it's all connected, I guess. So
yeah, well, they do say when you're talking to people on the phone, you should be smiling and, like greeting people on the phone, smiling means your tone aligns to that. Yeah. So if you and I are smiling at each other, it's probably going to be a good thing for the podcast.
That's right. And, well, I guess on that note about smiling and connecting to each other, what we're going to talk about today is about that, is about connecting.
What about how we're all raised not to truly value how to understand properly first?
What do you mean by that?
Well, we're not raised to understand each other properly. We're not trained at school or at work to how to sit in the discipline of not jumping to conclusions and asking lots of questions first and connecting. We're not, are we? Do you remember any subject called Understand First and Don't Jump to Conclusions? It'd be a long title for a subject, but still helpful.
Yeah.
Do you remember anywhere at school or anywhere?
No.
But how could something that important? Because it would help us as humans connect with each other more deeply and be there for each other more meaningfully. How do we miss something this big?
It's a good question.
Well,
we just seem to be very distracted or very preoccupied or...
You know what I think it all gets down to? This is something you and I were talking off air about. We just don't feel we're worthy enough so that we can be truly present in the moment. You see, we're compromised. The moment we enter an exchange with someone, we're already compromised because we're trying to find ways we can matter to the person. And those ways are often what advice we can give and whether we can make them laugh. But it's never about the true value being, can we listen really well? Can we ask questions to help deepen their understanding of their situation more than they even had before the conversation began, and therefore we could also deepen our understanding with them? We don't spend time being so present in just absorbing what's going on and being curious and asking more questions to go deeper and deeper and deeper, because we're so invested in, can I give anything that's of value? It's almost like we're after instant gratification. And if I don't feel worthy enough, I'm looking for the hit, the drug hit that I matter. And if you're in front of me, Rach, I need to somehow prove that I matter to you. So doesn't that compromise me in being there truly for you?
It does. And I think it's almost like the world doesn't necessarily reward people that sit back and observe and take pauses and think and contemplate. It's sort of like, if you think about school, it's the people who are the loudest and the people with the most opinions that stand out that you remember that get sort of perhaps to be the captains or leaders because they're vocal and they come up with answers and solutions, and it's quite driven in that sense. Yet people that are more likely to just stop and observe and sit in the background a little bit more aren't necessarily as rewarded.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Well, I do think that a competitive environment where everybody is looking at, who gets the attention, it kind of teaches you that if you want to matter, you have to hurry up and give value. And because everyone's rushing to give value, we all are shortchanging ourselves because we're not all saying, hey, why don't we just chill out for a second and go through a phase of asking questions only so that we all can start to get a better sense of what we're dealing with. Then we could turn on what we're seeing. And then from there, we're going to give better quality feedback and guidance. That doesn't really happen generally. But I do know in corporations, there are facilitators that try to achieve that process.
Yeah.
But generally it doesn't happen.
So what do we need to do to...
it's a big elephant in the room, Rach. It's a fat elephant. It's probably white so that it's so obvious, and it's got purple polka dots. So picture an elephant that's white, fat with purple polka dots in the room, and nobody's noticing it. Worthiness. Everybody wants to ignore the fact that life is downright retarded when you don't feel your worthiness. And everybody wants to ignore the fact that our arguments, our pettiness, our misinterpretations are coming from the fact that we just don't feel that innate worthiness that would allow you to be truly present with every aspect of you for someone else and therefore for each other. And all personal development does point to worthiness, but generally as a society, we really don't have worthiness 101 as a constant subject that follows us as we grow up to make sure that brain is wired to know that we matter outside of people's opinions, outside of achievements. I was thinking on the way to work today, I was going through the idea of when you want to matter, when you've achieved something, what do you want to do? A lot of people are driven where they feel like, I need to achieve all this so that then I can tell the world that I matter. Yeah? Well, hang on a minute. If I'm going to tell people that they matter before they achieve, then am I going to be driven to need to achieve to then tell people I've achieved, so therefore I should matter? And so that was a litmus test for me. It's kind of like, what will happen to me when I've achieved something great that's changing lives? What will that matter to me? And I started to go there. And what I was noticing was that I didn't feel any excitement around interviews or people pointing at me and saying, he did that. The excitement was very personal. And it was more about, I've done something that rewards me and allows me to have great experiences for me and my family, financial and all that. But also, I feel like there's more truth in the world through what I've done, and people can be there for each other better, and it can keep on keeping on without me. And I just love that. And it's almost like I was fantasizing where I was alone with a drink, just happy that this has happened, rather than me be in front of people and then telling me that that was great. And I think that was me checking in with myself, that I might really be honest with the advice that I give people about you matter whether you've achieved something or not. And for me, will I love myself more because I was highly successful in a business or a brand? Hell no. It would be deeply sad if I had to achieve something great so that then I could decide I was worthy. No way. I have to be worthy now. And so I give myself permission to be worthy now. And look, to put this into perspective, Rach, remember I was saying to you off air, there are some contexts that still trip me up. You know, like there are some situations where all of a sudden I feel this pressure to prove myself but that's the point. Now I have a journey like everybody else. That's my journey. My journey is to keep undoing every single situation, every type of relationship where I am caught with this desperation, this hole in my heart where I don't feel the worthiness. And my job is to look at the lie, the deception that has caught me in that mental prison, that emotional torture, that I would be that deceived not to feel that I'm worthy. And so I embrace that journey, right? So I now love myself and I'm worthy enough, even in my imperfection, that I give myself permission to have a trail of contexts that I will discover ongoing that might be the next proof of where I have a condition, you know, where I'm not worthy in that situation or in that whatever. And then what does that do for me? It relieves the pressure. It brings me closer to my worth. It gives me permission for a journey. And so that's a big, fat, white, purple, polka dotted elephant in the room. And I have had to live there and stare at that elephant for a long time. And a lot of it was invisible. And then slowly it appears. And eventually I want to point to that elephant for everyone. And not everyone will see the elephant, or they won't see how fat it is, or they won't see that it's absurd with purple polka dots. And I think that's our journey, because how can we be there for each other when we're fighting our unworthiness?
So, George, what is the first? Because it sounds like it's something everyone struggles with, is feeling worthy. So, what is a small step in the right direction towards moving towards that place where you're worthy, as you were just described?
Yeah, sometimes that's harder to answer than it needs to be, especially when I've taken so much for granted automatically over a long period of time. But I developed EP7 for a reason, right? Empowered for Purpose in 7 steps. You can't be empowered with discovering your true identity. That is priceless. It's worthy, right? So the key to you dedicating your daily life to seeing more and more of that elephant in the room is that you need to look for it. You need to have your heart be guiding you into every nook and cranny that will reinforce that you're worthy. You would need to write and journal about why you're worthy. You would need to hang out with people that are just as passionate for that journey. You would need to audit areas in your life where you feel as far away from your worth as possible to start to see what makes that possible. In other words, you need to confront the deception. You need to tease out, unpack all the assumptions that would make you feel that way. So from a practical sense, maybe the word why could be a key. Why does that person make me feel this way? Why do I feel so eager to be that way? Why am I missing what's really going on here? Why do I have to feel like I have to achieve so much for that person to take me seriously? Why am I always so eager to give someone something so that they know I matter before I've even understood them? If you ask the questions why, then you give yourself an opportunity to start to see answers. But those answers may as well be all the abyss. Like in a dark room, none of those answers mean anything. But that asking the question why and dedicating your purpose to your worth so that it's like a torch. So you're shining the light in different parts of the room. It's like me saying, I'm now looking at the context where I don't feel worthy, right? So it's kind of like, oh, I just shone a torch in that part of the room. Well, when the light shines, what are you shining it on? A context-specific area of deception, of a lie. It takes a lot of lies to keep you from the truth that you're worthy. So it's almost like you need to look at your world right now as riddled with deception. It is infested with so much illusion that you don't matter. It is ridiculous. But the great news is every bit of untangling of that deception is so rewarding. It's like your energy was trapped into every bit of deception, and every time you release it, it's like an inhale of excitement. Your energy goes up. You feel a real sense of freedom in that context, and it's rewarding. So it's not like there's this horrible journey where apparently you need to find your worth and it's all deception and it's going to take ages before you feel good about yourself. No, every step of the way is rewarding, because every ounce of reclaiming your worth again it's almost like being ignited with a euphoria, a sense of excitement, freedom. So yeah, but is that even practical? I mean, I was just ranting around that whole world of what you would do, but was there anything physically practical? I guess asking the question why.
Asking
Why am I not feeling worthy here? Why am I not feeling worthy in that relationship? Why am I not feeling worthy right now when I'm trying so hard to be there for someone? Why am I not feeling worthy? Because I know it's a lie. I am self-deceived and it's not good enough. I guess you got to make that commitment to yourself, don't you? The truth does set you free. But we're good at denial. This brain, as much as it's very powerful, it can be just as powerful to live an illusion and deception as it is to live a truth. So you can't rely on what you see and think that that's how life is. How many experiences do we need to have before we become incredibly skeptical about the way we see the world? So I think there's a humility that we need to embrace as the first step. And therefore, wouldn't that be why we'd question moving forward? Because we've decided for anything that would make us feel unworthy becomes our almost like a barometer. And that we've created a very core metric in how well we're living our life. And anything that makes us feel unworthy, and your heart will tell you very quickly if you're feeling unworthy, you know, that broken, heavy, cold, heartless feeling, you know. So as soon as that happens, I think you go, I've been deceived. There's a lie going on here. I've been lied to. I'm lying to myself. And that's the thing, isn't it? We're lying to ourselves. You know that taboo word, retarded? If you are worthy of love, respect, trust, if you are so worthy that you're equipped with the capability to be incredible and get into flow and create and, realize whatever dreams you have, would you agree that that would mean as humanity is retarded? Because we are so pushed away from that with lies and deception that we are retarded as a human race. Look at what's going on in the media. Look at even in a presidential race in America, how you've been fed such extreme points of view, and one is adamant that the other is full of lies and is worthless and destructive, and the other one says exactly the same thing of the other side. How does a brain know what's true when we're being fed extremes on both sides? And these are coming from apparently people that are telling you what's really going on in life, and that we're going to appoint one of them to lead one of the biggest nations in the world. There's something seriously wrong with us as humans for us to be that disconnected from our worth. So going back to, how is it that we could so desperately want to be there for each other and yet even drive each other away? It's because we're not even realizing what's motivating us. We don't have our feet on the ground. We're not deeply in touch with ourselves that would then allow us to be deeply in touch with others.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And
so it's really important to connect with ourselves first so that we can connect to others, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and how could you be in touch with yourself if you can carry the lie that you're worthless or not worthy enough? I mean, we're not in touch with ourselves.
No. I mean, it's definitely a work in progress. I mean, that's, as you know, something that I work on as well about. That's definitely a residing issue that underlies in my life and in many people's.
So the takeaway from this is make it your mission to prove your worth, not because it's to prove it to anyone, but it's to just finally realize it's the truth that you are always worthy. And now acknowledge the journey of undoing the lies that are everywhere, that are riddled in your neural wiring of the brain, and society constantly trying to reinforce that way of thinking, that it is our job for each other to start to get highly skeptical of anything that makes you feel unworthy. Heal the world, make it a better place. Maybe that's how we heal the world. We heal this absurd dysfunction that we are unworthy. What a crazy notion. But hey, I guess it gives us something to do, huh? Otherwise we'd be bored. Oh, I feel worthy. Everything I want, I just have straight away. Gosh, this life is a bit not so challenging. So maybe it's a blessing, or maybe it's purposeful to feel unworthy, because it's almost like a game. It's like a game of, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be programmed as far away from home as possible. And my journey is to come back home to me feeling connected to everything and knowing I'm worthy. So, hey, we don't begrudge it. So it's a game. Life's a game.
That's the light-hearted way you look at it.
Yeah, life's a game. Life's a game of rediscovering the truth of your worth. And every time you undo it, you just discover more empowerment within you to have an incredible adventure-filled life that will truly satisfy your heart. There's the game. Let's all sign up to what this game is really about.
Thank you, George. I think you've given us all a reason to discover our worth.
Get worthy.
Yeah, get worthy so that we can be there for others more than we can at the moment.
So we can finally be there for ourselves. Can you imagine all our life we've been living? We haven't really been there for ourselves because we've had this condition that we're not worthy enough. Talk about being disjointed within yourself. So yeah, be there for yourself so you can be there for others. All right?
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.
To another EP7 podcast. Join us next time and hop onto the EP7 official Facebook page and let us know your thoughts.
For sure. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another EP7 podcast. If you liked what you heard, remember to share and subscribe so you're notified of every podcast released. If you have any questions or would like to connect with us, please jump on the EP7 official Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you.